Good morning, everybody. BDF44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I want to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers because they're coming off a very massive win. And a win that I could argue is the best win we've had in like maybe even 2.5 years against the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee, where we were able to take them down in a close basketball game where everybody played really well. 4 turnovers as a team against a team like that who's won championships on their defense. That's impressive. A guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo goes for 40. You know, he's himself, basically. Wasn't able to overcome us. Drew Holiday had an especially good game on both sides of the floor. Couldn't overcome us. Middleton at return. Couldn't overcome us, etc., etc. You know, I can, you know, if you want to talk about it, we can point out that they didn't have Marshawn Beauchamp, which is a player who I think could really help them, you know, in a game like this. But, I mean, to be honest with you, there's no reason why they shouldn't have been able to be fully confident and more or less come in and think they could beat anybody. So the fact that we came into that building with them at that strength and beat them soundly, basically, in a close game, I think is something that can inspire a new look, a new lens rather, in regards to how to see this team. If you're Jeanie Buss and Rob Pelinka, maybe you start looking at this team a different way now that Anthony Davis is playing at such a high level. Maybe you could start dreaming about what it means to invest in this team instead of what we were thinking maybe 3 weeks ago, that this thing was a lost cause and no one should invest anything into it. This isn't necessarily the same ball club when Anthony Davis is playing this way. The problem that this team has had is that they couldn't count on Anthony Davis to play this way. So as a result, you had a need for more talent to make up for what it is that you thought he wasn't going to bring you. Well, he's himself. Right now, he's playing exactly the way we've been waiting for him to play since before we even got him here. And so at him at this level, you can start seeing opportunities to beat teams that you maybe thought would outclass you. Like Giannis, for example. When AD's playing like this, you can get Giannis at 40 points and still walk out of there with a victory. You know, and it's like, I think the Lakers kind of had a what I like to call a eureka moment, or a light bulb in the moment, in your head type of moment, where you're like, so maybe I should consider what investing in this roster could look like, because these guys are going to, if we get them enough help and AD's playing like this, they're going to make a playoff run, and we're going to look foolish for not making sure they have enough talent when they do. And then from there, it's like, okay, what type of stuff can you bring them that can maybe carry over into next season? Since we now have this newfound faith in AD, should it not make sense that we would expect that AD can still play like this next season? And even if Bron takes some steps backwards, it would still make sense to continue to invest, because now that AD's the focal point, and he's not facing father time. He's not even 30 yet. It's one of those situations where it's like, okay, well, all right, we got something good here. Now it's not about LeBron James' timeline. LeBron James is the number 2 guy. And if he's the number 2 guy, then you're like, all right, well, even if he's facing father time a little bit, or if he takes some steps backwards, or if his defense wanes, that doesn't change the trajectory of what it is that we believe we can do, because Anthony Davis is playing at an MVP level. So it's like, all right, well, we're back to square one as it pertains to where we were when we first traded for Anthony Davis, which is a team that's trying to figure out how best to put a team around those two, him and Bron, that can win championships, because we're no longer looking at Anthony Davis as somebody who can't bring us that level. You know, the thought was that we would never see this level again. The thought was that he was never going to be that guy. But he went in this offseason, got in shape. And, you know, remember in the preseason when I was telling you guys, as he was having back spasms and stuff like that, I was telling you guys, you know, from my own experience, some of the times when I was getting in shape and trying to, like, grow new muscle from new things that I was trying to do, squatting and stuff like that, sometimes it would hurt so bad that I could barely get out of bed. It wasn't because I was injured. It was because I was getting stronger, and that muscle needed to grow in, and it hurts to grow in. So I was thinking that's kind of what AD was probably going through when he was having some of those back spasms earlier in the season, where everybody was rolling their eyes like, oh, here he goes, he's hurt again. I'm like, nah, this dude's been working out differently. It's probably like week 7 of a very strenuous back strengthening program, where he's going uphill and doing all types of squats and stuff like that he's probably never done before. And so I'm thinking, look, this is probably good for him. Let's just wait it out and see if his actual injuries. Then he had some real injuries, roll his ankle, stuff like that. So we're like, all right, here we go. We're rolling our eyes, because this is still a continuum of his injury issues. But my thinking is, He just started doing some things differently conditioning wise, and I know what that does for the body. And he's still young enough to where that can really reinvent him. So it's like, all right, Anthony Davis it's up to him. You know, you fix the things you need to fix in your personal life in terms of your diet and your workout routines, and you get healthy and you stay healthy. You stay healthy. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about, is starting the process of doing the things necessary to stay healthy. And I think that he started the process. So now we're seeing the results of it. It's months since the muscle grew in, so to speak, for the back of, if that's what it was, or, you know, it's been some time, and now the strength is there that we were ultimately hoping would come from those workouts. So you're seeing it. It's turning into these ridiculously great performances, and the key for the Lakers is to make sure that they don't ask him to do too much so that we don't have no setbacks with his injuries, and that he stays focused on what he needs to do to keep his nutrition and his activity from these previous workouts in regular form going forward. Because if he takes steps back or abandons that workout stuff, he's going to turn right back into the old AD that he didn't like, that guy that couldn't really do a whole lot, that guy that we probably could move on from right now and feel good about at this price. So it's up to him. It's up to him to stay, who he's been, stay confident, and just take care of his body and do what he needs to do to be the best athlete he can be. Otherwise, his talent is showing us he could take over. You know, this is it. This is the truth. Anthony Davis, when he's right, is top 5 player in the NBA. Now, we had lost that belief because he wasn't showing us that. He had shown us that that Father Time basically had hit him, and that his body, he was not that guy anymore. But we remember when he used to be this guy. So it was like, it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, if we think you're done, it's that you're over with. It's not like we think that was never there. It was once there. And so since it's returned, you have to readjust your thinking. It's like, okay, this version of him is returned. So now we need to manage this level. And this level is just not, he's not an all-star. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there are all-stars around this league. Guys we know their names and they're awesome. He's not that. He's a pantheon. He's Giannis, Jokic, Bron, Jason Tatum. He's one of those. And so as we understand this and we start to really, really remind ourselves, and he reminds himself who he is, then it's like, okay, all right, so let's do what we need to do to assure that we have a future with this guy. Instead of shopping him or whatever, we need to invest in his future, because this is who he's returned to be. And as far as I can tell, it's untradeable. You see anybody trading Jokic? You see anybody trading Luka Doncic? These people aren't on the trade block. We have one of those guys, and we don't need to have him on the trade block. My interest in Anthony Davis is high when he's playing like this, but I always know that the injury issues are a thing. But until they're not anymore, simply put, until he takes care of himself and is showing us that this is who he's going to be from here on out. You know what I mean? So it's all about, the faith that you have in Anthony Davis. Is he going to stay like this, or is he going to revert back to who he was? If he does revert back to who he was, will this return? And should you ever truly give up on him, really, at any price, based on the different levels that we've seen him play at? This level right here, what I'm telling you, is not the highest level he plays at. We're super happy with what we saw last night. He had 44 points and a ridiculous amount of numbers. And what I'm telling you is, he's even better than that. He's better than that. And that's how scary this actually is. They're like, for people who are looking at what Anthony Davis did, and they're looking at his numbers he's been doing every night for the last 8 games, that's exactly who he's supposed to be. That's why he costs so dang much. Laker fans, we just ain't never seen this version of him. He's never done this in our uniform. I remember one game he did that early on, like 10th game he put on the uniform. I think he had a 40-something point game. I remember specifically because he was getting to the line so much that specific game. And then he's had some big-time games since, but we haven't seen the truth about this player, man. We just haven't seen it. He ain't been in that type of shape, and we haven't used him properly. Vogel never, ever used him properly. And then the one year with obviously last year, the Russell Westbrook thing, and his combine that with him being out of shape and with the whole team being older, it just made for an awful basketball club. And so you get him some centers, big players like we got this year. You got Bron shooting the ball at a high clip. You got guys like Austin Reeves and Russell Westbrook who are looking to get him the ball. and you got good enough offensive players around him to keep the spacing strong, like, Lonnie Walker. This has turned out to be a very, very special year for Anthony Davis. That's what it's turning out to become. This could be the year that we've been waiting for, where he gets his personal accolades going and starts to remind people that he is of the Jokic, Doncic, Giannis category, Steph Curry category. He one of them dudes, man. He really is, and he I think he forgot it. I think after he won that championship, he kind of let himself go physically, and I think he kind of settled into this 2010 guy that's just not who he really is. You know what I mean? 16-8 guy who's just, as we can see, a fourth of who he actually is. And I think even Bron kind of settled in, like, this is just who he's gonna be. Yeah. So of course he ain't gonna want to give the keys to a guy who's due in 2010, because obviously LeBron James can give you this. But if the guy he's next to is able to give him what it is that he thought initially he could get, then he can start dreaming about winning championships with the Lakers again. So that's what's changed here. I think LeBron James looking at AD saying, damn it, he is him. I knew I was right. I knew I was right getting this guy on my team. It's that kind of thing that's happening right now. Because everybody likes AD, but, we didn't pay for a 20-10 AD. We like that player, too, because he can be so good defensively, but this is who we paid for. We paid for this guy. We paid for somebody that you can't, 2 and 3 players can't give you that type of production. That's exactly what he's showing us to be. So I hope he stays on this path, man, and start to let his talent get him the type of respect that he actually deserves, because people were questioning whether or not he deserved to be in top 75. And you see games like this, and you're like, nah, we ain't question that no more. That's over with. Once again, we're like, oh, yeah, he is a lot better than so-and-so and so-and-so. Yeah, he better than that dude, too, and that dude. And probably 2 of them dudes on the top 75 can't guard him if they try to double team him. Like, it's that kind of thing with a talent like Anthony Davis. So the reminder's here now. We have it. We have the reminder. And hopefully he can just stay healthy and not revert. He has his weaknesses. His weakness is he at times forgets that he's Anthony Davis. At times he thinks he is a 16-8 guy. Like, he really does forget this. And so it's incumbent upon all of those who coach him and all of those who play with him to understand that that's his flaw, and put that battery in his back when he kind of loses his confidence, basically, when he starts deferring like he's a role player. You ain't never, when you can do what this guy just did last night, never again should anybody confuse him with a role player or a starter or an all-star or just a guy who's going to get shooed into the Hall of Fame eventually with a couple of... Nah, this is a guy who beats everybody all the time when he's 100% his best self. It's probably not 10 people probably ever played the game could do some of the things that he does on both sides of the floor. To be honest with you. Even we talk about Doncic and we talk about Jokic. Neither one of them have anything on him defensively. That what they do affects the offensive side of the ball only. He affects the offense and the defensive side of the ball at a pantheon great level. Like Giannis. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like, that's why AD is him. Because he's stifling the best player on one side of the floor or the entire team with his length, basically making it so that you have no chance of basically scoring on him most times. And then on the other end, he's scoring on every possession. Every single possession. And so, the price tag on AD is untradeable as of yesterday. I don't think we can effectively trade him for any reasonable price. 7 picks, 8 picks ain't enough for what it is that he gave us last night. You got to trade him for Wembanyama or, you know what I'm saying? That's the level. Giannis, that's the level. That's the level. So, as far as I can tell, we just got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to best make this team the best version of itself. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to look at Russell Westbrook and say, okay, we want to trade him, you better be very careful about what it is that you're breaking up. When things are starting to work and people are starting to learn who they are, when you start to bring in other talented pieces, they got to learn them too. And a guy like Vucevic has been struggling heavily. And I don't know that you're going to get from him what you think you need to get from him in the event you bring him to this unit. Because he's going to need to be a big center, strong, keep the pace kind of center. That's not really his game. And his contract is pretty hefty. Now, I like Vucevic. He's a star player and all that, but he has his own injury issues and stuff like that too that is well documented. So Chicago's not too happy with him right now. Now, what you're really doing is getting DeMar DeRozan, which you can't argue is a bad decision in any way. I don't have an argument for us not trading Russell Westbrook for DeMar DeRozan. You should probably do that. But in doing that, you understand what you're letting go of when Russell Westbrook's playing as well. When he's starting to become a facilitator for your team, when he's starting to find his confidence as a point guard, when you're starting to understand that he can have games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you could beat a team like the Bucks. You know, these type of things where you understand who you're giving up. Apply the same thing to Anthony Davis, to Russell Westbrook. The idea is that he's never going to turn back into that player again. Okay? We made that mistake with Anthony Davis. The problem with Russell Westbrook is mental. All of it. Everything in regards to him being a Laker was always mental. It had to do with him and himself. When he's right, we must remember that he's the leading triple-double getter in the history of the sport. Better than all humans, all of them. He gets more triple-doubles than everybody else. Now, that's a stat thing. We know that's a stat thing. But one of the reasons why he's able to do that is because, A, he's more durable than most humans. And B, because he has more of an inertia toward the rim than most humans. So he can get there faster than most. That's why he accumulates so many stats. It's not just because he's hunting stats. It's because he's capable of getting them as he hunts them. That's something that most cannot do. They're not moving as fast as him. He gets assists faster than others because he's playing at a faster pace than most. And that pace is deadly when used properly. Especially if you can audible out of it, which we can. And so that's the thing that other teams couldn't do. They couldn't convince him to come off the bench. They couldn't convince him to let other people facilitate so that they didn't have to live and die with his mistakes. We have. And so what I'm saying is now we have a recipe to win with Russell. Coming off the bench, we got him in line, we got him in a system, we got it working. The only problem, honest to God, that we have with Russell Westbrook right now is his price. It's eating away at what else we can do. That's it. We actually need him as a piece. But that $47 million could literally be like 3 or 4 other players on top of him. So in a perfect world, you just like, I don't know, man. In a perfect world for me, what I would ask him to do is split the salary in half right here and now. Hey, can we split that in half? Can we have you stay for 2 years, take 21 right now, and take 21 later, stay with us, and then we could take the salary that we're going to be giving you this year and give it to some other people. I mean, if something like that were possible, obviously it's not. But what I'm saying is that would be the perfect way to do it, to where we can allocate less of him on our cap so we can make our team better, so that we can keep him as a piece and add to it. That's what really needs to happen. Other than that, you need the piece. Basically, he's showing you that he's an asset to this unit and how we're structured right now. And when you bring in a piece like DeMar DeRozan and another piece like Vucevic, you got new things. You got entirely new pieces. Now different people have to play different ways in order to fit them. Now you got different shots going different ways. DeMar DeRozan is going to need shots. He's not, like, he's somebody you're going to want taking 15, 16, 17, 18 shots himself. So what does that do for Anthony Davis and Bron? See, with Russell Westbrook, you don't want him shooting no more than 10, 12 shots a game because he's going to be inefficient. Chances are you're pulling him off the floor if he's shooting too much. Not DeMar. Now, DeMar's going to do some of them same things facilitating that Russell can do, probably even better in some ways. He's an excellent facilitator. He's going to get all the assists Russell can get. And maybe most of the points, too, more efficiently. So, like I said, you would want to make that trade. But is DeMar DeRozan as durable as Russell Westbrook? It's not. He's probably not going to play as many games as Russell. You're probably going to have him on the floor less than Russell. And these are the type of things you got to consider when you're considering what Russell Westbrook is worth at $47 million. One of the reasons why he's made so much money is because you can count on him to play 82 games, as to which most superstars you cannot at that level, at that usage. They don't wear down. And so that's what we have to understand. And you're going to bring in that much salary, you're also bringing in the natural understanding that most humans wear down, as to which Russell will not. He missed 1 game last season, and I don't think he's missed but 1 this year too. So that's what I can count on him. I can count on him more than what the average equivalent of $47 million worth of person will give me. No, like only a few people I can count on to stay on the floor that much. Giannis, you know, even the great ones. Joel be missing more games than Westbrook. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're intent on understanding that you're gonna have to live without what it is you're bringing in, if you can't function without it, then you probably shouldn't bring it in. And so that's a big variable. That's a huge variable. Once you bring in DeMar DeRozan, you're now relying upon him in a lot of ways that you're not relying upon Russell Westbrook, and he changes the roles that Anthony Davis and Russell and Bron play. He changes their roles, maybe for the better, maybe, but you're just a different team. You better learn that, and you don't have a lot of time to learn because we're already in a third through the season or whatever. So, do I like that trade in general? Right now, I don't. I'm not gonna lie to you because I don't want to give up the picks. They don't have nothing to do with Russell Westbrook. I would much rather not give up those picks to bring in Vucevic contract in any way. I'd rather not. I don't think it's as retradable of a contract that is worth slapping those type of picks on it when Russell's playing well. But for DeMar DeRozan, it's worth it. So it's worth it, and you probably should do it. But I can totally see where there are going to be avenues where you'll say, you know what, I wish Russell was still on this team. I really can see that. So that's something we have to guard against. We have to know what we're doing, and we got to know for a fact we can make it work if we do it. It's just not about winning the trade. You got to make sure that trade is actually a win for you. You know what I mean? So that's a tricky thing, and it's hard to really know what's right. I would just hope that the Lakers know what to do in this situation. Patrick Beverley's another one of those guys. I just look at him almost the same way in a lesser way. You know, all of the players that we have, more or less, we have to look at them through a different lens, because if we're going to play well with them, if we're going to put them in positions to do things that they do well, we don't have to view them the way we did through the first 18 games of the season, because that was the problem. We couldn't find anything out of those guys. A guy like Patrick Beverley, you know, I was looking at what DTLF had to say about Patrick, and he didn't see the good in Patrick's game last night. Defensively, and I wasn't really looking for that as much, to be honest with you. I know that Jrue Holiday was able to get off and do what he was trying to do, but to be honest with you, I don't look at Patrick Beverley as somebody who's going to shut down Jrue Holiday at this stage in his career. I don't think that anybody can shut down Jrue Holiday like that. But you know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm going to him to do. It's not like I'm expecting him to give me the production that I would go to for Marcus Smart to give me or something like that. Nah, he's older now, so he ain't gonna be able to slow down some of the dudes. What I need from Patrick Beverley is to rub off on Austin Reeves and Lonnie Walker and Scottie Pippen and some of these other youngsters. That is what he needs to be, a defensive influence on the guys who are physically able to do the things that we're asking him to do. And I cannot stress that enough. Steve holds tons of value because he's a coach on the floor, and he keeps the defense on a string. So he's going to call out where guys are supposed to go. He's going to make sure that the reads are made properly on the floor, and that's a problem that we have, particularly with Russell Westbrook. Some of these other players, they don't think defense. So you need somebody down there to quarterback the defense, and that is what Patrick's job is if we're using him properly. So that's what I want us to understand. It's like, I don't care that, you know, he got cooked by Jrue Holiday. Yeah, I'm not putting him on Jrue Holiday. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to choose to do that. He's going to be playing help defense off of Jrue Holiday, and he's going to be playing against Pat Connaughton. You know what I mean? And he's going to be a pest. That's what I'm going to have him do. And I'm only going to put him on Jrue in certain spurts. But, like, to get torched, nah, that's not what you want. You want a bigger player on Jrue anyway. So it's one of those situations where it's like, as long as we're using the players we have correctly and we're not misevaluating them based on the things that schematically were wrong in the first 18, 20 games of the season, we can make a good decision about what to do with our guys. Because some of these pieces we're going to trade, and then we're going to find out we needed those pieces. And I just don't think that's a mistake we have to make just because we didn't love what we had or because we can afford to get better. You have to get better, but you have to take into account certain things in order to make sure that you're able to once you do those things. So that's what I'm saying. This is a tricky game. When you remove players and add players to a basketball team, it can change everything around. So is it broke? It is, because we do have to improve, but not in the ways that would otherwise make it so that you can get better from moving certain pieces, I guess, if that makes any sense. I don't know that we get better if we trade Patrick Beverley, trade Kendrick Nunn, trade Russell Westbrook, and then maybe bring back DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic. I don't actually know for certain that you're going to be happy with the overall outcome of your team if you do that. Because if Vucevic comes in and struggles and DeMar DeRozan gets down with an injury, now your team is not as good as it is right now. You don't have that pressure on the rim and that extra effort that comes from Russell Westbrook. And the problem is, what you're going to find out is if you deplete your team of self-motivated talent, our superstars, as we've already said, they come and go with that. So you cannot remove the Westbrooks and the Beverleys from this unit because they keep the engine going. So if you're not going to replace it with an engine-like guy, then you're not going to have an engine. And you're going to be relying upon LeBron James, and sometimes he got the mood, he's going. Sometimes, he ain't going to feel it. Or AD, sometimes he's feeling like himself. Other times he don't even remember who that is. You need guys like Russell Westbrook who it don't matter what's going on. He's dancing. He could, he's down by 15. He's dancing. It don't matter. And a guy like Patrick Beverley who, he's thinking to the left of certain things that everybody else is thinking. I've pointed this out before. It was a situation where the momentum of the crowd had flipped to the other side. As to where the crowd was going crazy. We were on the road, such and such. We had just turned the ball over. And it was one of those times where you just knew that the average human being on the Lakers side of things was cussing and fussing. What was he doing? Putting himself in a position to take advantage of all that and drawing an offensive foul in the situation. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, Patrick Beverley's mind is while we're thinking A and B, he's thinking C. And that's a very good thing. So we need to keep on empowering guys like that to play the way that they play so that they can provide what it is that we don't have otherwise. And if you just go and trade for a guy, you're not going to get that trade. That trade is going to be gone. And so that's what I'm saying, man. If you're not bringing me back Marcus Smart, don't get rid of Patrick Beverley. That's all I'm saying. If you don't make yourself, if you're not bringing back Alvarado, don't get rid of Patrick Beverley. That's basically my mindset. So it's his, again, like Russell Westbrook, could we condense his contract and get 2 players for 1? Yes, you can. But if those 2 players aren't going to bring you what it is that he brings you, and you ain't about to use them players anyway because you're going to probably play Austin Reeves above him any damn way, type of stuff. It's like, don't overthink this. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, are there ways to get better? Yeah, there are certain trades I would make. I would say yes to certain trades. But I would triple think about what I was doing when doing so. Not double think, not just one or twice. No, you got to really, really consider all that happens once you remove certain particular pieces from this lineup. Kendrick Nunn, I think you can get, Damian Jones. Those are guys who are struggling. We can move those guys. Obviously, Matt Ryan. But players like Wenyen Gabriel, you better not trade him. You better keep him out of the trade rumors. I don't care what you think you bring him back. You better keep that piece. You made that mistake with Stanley Johnson, and we still miss Stanley Johnson. You know what I mean? We made that mistake with Caruso, and we still miss Alex Caruso. So let's just try to hold on to the players that we know are good. Don't overthink it. Stars need role players, and what we have is a bunch of guys who know how to play their role, and a few other guys who are learning as we go along. And so we just got to continue to empower those guys and get the best out of them. And I think we can have a really good season. Now, trading those picks is smart, but for the right stuff, and to attach it to Russell Westbrook just to get him off the team with where we are right now, it's definitely not the strategy for our roster. Absolutely not. We don't need to get rid of Russell Westbrook, and we certainly don't need to get rid of our picks. So that's where we're at with that. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to add to this game? This video, in regards to the Lakers, I think I'm pretty much set, man. I think I said it all that I wanted to say here. I love our roster right now as it pertains to guys just settling into letting AD be the focal point of what it is that we do. You feed him, and you win. You feed him, and you feed him, you feed him some more, and he stays engaged when you feed him, which means he's going to give you even more on the defensive end. He's going to give you even more on the boards when he's able to dunk the ball. So that's all I'm saying, man. Let's do that. And I'm very happy to see his jump shot falling because last year was really rough for that. 16%, 20% from 3. We ain't forgot about none of that. So the fact that he's able to shoot the ball back as his normal self is phenomenal. And it is a very big part of why we're viewing him differently. It's because shots are falling, simply put. So that's what it is, man. Hopefully we can continue to see that. Unselfishness. People take care of the basketball. Obviously, we're in the middle of the beginning of a very long road trip, so staying healthy is key. And, yeah, we'll have more for you. I probably will turn on the camera before the end of the day and talk Lakers again, just like I did here at random, I'm sure. But tomorrow we will address an early game, 3 o'clock on a Sunday against the Washington Wizards in Washington, against Kyle Kuzma, against some of the other guys that we've had, we've seen over the years. Kristaps Porzingis, Monte Morris. Who else? There's a few other guys on that team that we're going to definitely need to pay attention to. Rui Hachimura. You know, it's a homecoming for a couple of guys too. Thomas Bryant and Russell Westbrook are going home there. Obviously, Thomas Bryant has only played for 2 teams, us and them. So this is a homecoming for him. Hopefully, he can get some minutes in that place and get a victory. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them wear pink. I'm just warning everybody right now. They got a whole pink setup, pink floor, pink jerseys, everything. So they may want to rock that on Sunday, and we'll probably rock our white jerseys because it's Sunday. We always rock on white on Sunday. So that's what I'm expecting to see, man. Kuzma in pink on a Sunday afternoon. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.